So I haven't really done my best to polish this, but I just wanted to spend a few minutes and tell you how I manage literature, going from reading journals specific to topics I'm most interested in and do research on, as well as sort of surfing the new literature overall and topics that may be of emerging interest to me. And of course, there are a lot of online tools that make this useful and like totally different than it was back in the day when we had to go to the library. I couldn't imagine how my research would be different if I had to go to the library and look up every journal article. But anyway, so what I've posted on CTools as a so-called Lecture 4A is a few-page document. The first page and a half are really just for reference. I won't go through these individually, but for example, I list a bunch of databases that are online and used for aggregating literature. For example, Compendex is probably the most comprehensive database, so-called Engineering Village, contains a lot of journals and conferences. The one that we'll talk about specifically today and demonstrate is ISI Web of Knowledge, and that's because of its connectivity to reference management software that lets you archive and keep bibliographies. ISI itself is not a journal publisher, but is the organization that tracks impact factors and so on. So they're known for sort of tracking publication statistics. There's also Science Direct. That's Elsevier's journals exclusively, but that's their big website. There's IEEE Explore, which has all the IEEE journals and conferences. And then there's a newer one by Elsevier called Scopus, which U of M doesn't have access to now, but they had free access a while ago. That includes journals, web searching, and also patents. It was pretty nice, but now we can't get to it. But anyway, ISI, for example, connects to a large variety of journals, also connects to IEEE and so on. So it's more like a clearinghouse where you can search and you'll get, the 100 journal papers that are on a specific search topic, and then you can go from that place to the specific journal websites. There are also public access databases such as Google Scholar. Like, for example, to even search in ISI, you need to have an account. At U of M, you have an account if you're on the U of M IP address or through the library's website. Google Scholar, you can search for free, but to get to the specific journal article, you would have to have a full-text account to that journal, which of course comes from being at U of M. There's also Google Books, which puts full text of out-of-copyright books, or like Amazon can show a few pages of a book that's not out of copyright, which is sometimes useful. But the sort of main message I have today is how to use these different types of electronic resources together and how to let that build a personal archive and knowledge base of the literature you're interested in and the literature you read. It's great to just go to the database when you want to and search for a term, but things are published so quickly from so many different sources that you want to kind of use the tools to help you keep up on the news in an efficient way. Also, for me, I read a lot of papers. Often I find a pretty good memory of like reading something, but I don't remember where I read the something. So if I want to go back and find it, it's important for me to have an archive of where it actually is. I won't talk about patents, but there are a variety of patent databases depending upon where the patent is filed. There's the USPTO, there's also international patents, and then there's Google has a patent search website which connects to the US database. I can tell you more about that later if you want, but when you're looking at new technology, it's always interesting to search the patent literature. It has some advantages and also some disadvantages in terms of the depth, but that's another resource you can consider if you're, say, want to look at, solar cells containing nanocrystals. There are probably a lot of patents related to that. But the heart of the topic we'll explore is sort of the connectivity between these online databases and the journal sites to what we call reference management software and kind of aggregation software. And I'll skip over these. There are a few databases, and we'll focus on one called EndNote and EndNote Web when I talk about the connectivity next. And of course, in this realm of nanotechnology, materials, and chemistry, there are a lot of journals, and here is just a list of sort of the typical journals that one might find articles in if you're searching related to the topics in this class. So they comprise a variety of publishers, and some are sort of general science journals, Science, Nature, so on, and others are more material science focused, such as Advanced Materials, more materials chemistry, and an interdisciplinary focus, such as nanoletters, and then more chemistry-focused, such as chemical communications, physics-focused, applied physics letters, physical review letters, and so on. But this is sort of what I consider, if I want to keep up on micro and nanotechnology, the set of newspapers or journals that would be publishing stuff of interest. And when I read the literature, you'll see that I subscribe to full alerts from, say, the most recognized and, quote, famous journals. And that, by scanning the whole content of those journals, I sort of keep abreast of the most important developments in the field at large. And in addition to that, if I want to keep up on a specific topic, such as the catalytic growth mechanism of carbon nanotubes, I can subscribe to a specific search through a database that'll alert me of all the articles from all the journals which meet those search terms. And by combining those two approaches, I can sort of establish a T structure where I have breadth in all areas, keeping up on the most important news, and I have depth in the most specific areas that I might be active in research in currently. But all these tools can sort of work together much to our advantage. So again, this is probably highly imperfect, but yesterday I just tried to map out what I see as the relationships between the ways that we can use networking to archive literature and sort of research news. So, of course, everything starts with the journals. The journals are where research is published, and for example, every journal nowadays has a website which publishes the full text of the journals, and I think online distribution far exceeds print distribution now. For example, Science, and there are typically two types of ways the articles are reported. First, as in the old days, the articles are published and they are assigned to an issue, and these are so-called articles in print. And these sort of appear in an issue when the issue is actually printed and is mailed to the subscribers. However, because we can publish things faster online than in print, there are also what you call express articles. And so if an article is released to the public, the journal often puts it online before it's actually assigned to an issue. Now, all the journals connect to these literature databases, such as Web of Science, and these are sort of a one-stop shop archive of all the published articles from, you could say, all the journals. However, often when the journals put their articles as express or advance of print, they don't hit the databases yet. So you need to go directly to the journal website if you want to find out the truly latest news. Now, some cases this is not important, but if you're really interested in keeping up in the latest development on a topic, say doing research in it and learning about a great new technique could change your perspective, you can get this news in some cases 1 to 2 months or more ahead of it being published in print. So in the topics that you're most interested in, it makes sense to sort of watch these express articles and not only rely on the databases. So anyway, in the databases you can search search specific terms, and you can save searches and so on. And the databases and the journals both have the capability to send the information you're interested in at a regular period of time to you by email or to you by what's called an RSS feed, which can be accessed by a separate software application such as Google Reader, which I'll show you in a minute. So an RSS feed is simply a stream of information. For example, every time a new issue of Science is published, you can sign up for the email alert where it emails you the table of contents, or you can sign up for the RSS feed where it sends you the table of contents to your Google Reader, and you can read the information there. And you can get a bunch of different emails from different journals, or you can have them all sent to Google Reader, and you can aggregate them in sort of a news stream. So it's like going to a website, which is your custom assembled impression of all the information you want to look at. And with the journals, you can do this for the published articles or the express articles, or both. So you can have 10 journals, and you can send them together all into your RSS feed stream. You can do the same thing in the literature database. You can have it do a search, and one time you can send those search results to yourself by email, or you can have saved searches, and you can say every week send me by email or send me a feed of all the new articles that have been published according to these terms, and then it will pop over into your reader and be added to your custom impression of literature according to what you want. Now, from the databases and sometimes from the journals, there probably should be another arrow here, you can also export the bibliographic information for a paper to a reference management software. And this is nothing more than a database where you can collect, the sites for all the papers you're interested in. And the one that I use and a lot of people use is called EndNote. And there are two types of EndNote. There's EndNote software, which is standalone. You can buy a license and install it on your computer. And there's also EndNote Web, which sits on a website from ISI, just like Web of Science. And at U of M, we can get free accounts to EndNote Web. And then you can sort your references into groups. You can share groups with others. For example, if you're writing a paper with someone, you can both find references and add them to the same group. And you'll both see those references in a group, give it whatever name you want. And then you can export these references or link them to a document. So if you're writing a paper, you can see on the EndNote website how you can import references to the paper from the database. So I find this is a pretty convenient way to use a big online archive to search papers about a specific term, select the ones of interest, export their bibliographic information to a database, and then when you go to write a paper, you can say, oh, I know I want to insert the Smith paper. You can search for the Smith paper in your EndNote database, and you can copy its reference into the paper and maintain this link. I'm not going to be able to go through a lot of the fine details here, and it's difficult for me to provide support if you're interested in looking at these new, but all these have really good help tutorials, which are a lot better than what I can tell you and what I have time for. But I just wanted to give you the overview here. So, but I've only really started using this RSS reader aggregator recently, and I think this is kind of where it all happens, because it's change the way I look at things. Instead of getting a whole bunch of different emails from different websites, they're all in one, and you can just scroll through, every day, every week, what's new, and you can pick off what's of interest and then link back, for example, to the journal websites and read the articles that you want. However, the linkage between the database and the reference software still comes from the database itself. So, I don't know how familiar you are with all of these, but I can just do a quick search in ISI to show you how it goes. ISI, Web of Science, is where the scientific literature is. So this is the main ISI website. Typically when I search, I do an advanced search. So there's a code for searching for the fields that you want. But for example, if I wanted to search for papers that contain Smalley as the author, and in the title or the abstract where the code is TS, say I want to do fullerene, you could type fullerene, F-U-L-L-E-R-E-N-E, or if I wanted to include terms fullerenic or something, you could put an asterisk on the end. And so this will probably return a bunch of papers. Let's see what we get. And so when the search field disappears, you go down to the bottom, and there are 65 papers that meet these search terms. And so now we go to the list of the actual references, and you see that these come from a whole bunch of different journals. And again, ISI is not a publisher, they're just an aggregator. So for example, let's go to this paper, which is in the Journal of Physical Chemistry B. And by clicking on the title, it'll show us the abstract. And then we can do a couple things here. You can read the abstract, and if you're not interested, you can just go back. Or you can, for example, save the reference to EndNote Web or to EndNote software itself or other managers, which we didn't talk about. Or if you want to read the full text, you can click this M. Get it button, this should typically take you to the ability to look at the full text. Let's go to another paper and see if it works differently. Let's go to this one. So now, if we click the full text button, now it shall take us to the article directly on the journal website, where you could, for example, find a PDF of the paper and read it if you want. If I go back to the article in Web of Knowledge, I can, if I want to just save this one reference, for example, to my EndNote Web, I could click here, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. Or if I'm reading through a big search, and I want to mark references and then save them all as a bunch later, I can do what's called add it to the marked list. And then I have one record in my marked list. And here, there's a separate page which shows the list. Now it just contains this one reference, and I can use the interface up here to export it to my reference library. And this, for example, in this database, says what fields I want to export. So often I want to export the abstract because I want my database to also contain the abstract, so I don't have to go back to the website. And now here I'll say save to my EndNote web. And now I need to log in with my account here in order to let it save it. And hopefully everything will be good. And now I think when you log in, I've found that you have to, if you're not logged in, you have to go back, and then you have to try saving again. And now it says it's sending it to EndNote Web Library, and it's being sent, and it may take a few moments to get there. So now I can go over to a different website, which is just be accessed from myendnoteweb.com, and if I enter log in here, then maybe we'll find that the reference has appeared. Sometimes this website is pretty slow. All right. So as you can see, I've been using this for a while, and I have a whole bunch of groups of different references that I've been categorizing for various reasons. And then there's a group. If you just import it directly from Web of Knowledge, the reference will go into a group called unfiled, and then you can file it in your various groups and Web will tell you if you look into it. And we'll just try to see the unfiled group, and over here we see the reference that we just exported. So now this came from Web of Knowledge, and we imported it from there. So now we can, for example, from the reference database, go back and get right to the paper. And sometimes the links don't work perfectly, but for example, here you can click back to the paper and then get to the full text again. So you could go back to your reference database and then go back to finding the paper directly. So that's sort of the end of the database process. And you'll see here, if you want to use this, for example, with Word, you'll find instructions about how to link it with Word or other software, LaTeX, and how to import these references when you write a paper. So the other kind of half of the chart is this RSS feed aggregator, for which I use Google Reader, and I've subscribed from Google to a bunch of journals. And this is the home page of Google Reader for me. If you have a Gmail or a Google account, then one of the applications available to you is Google Reader. And you see over the left here that I've subscribed to a bunch of journals and also other blogs that I'm interested in. And it'll sort of customize a home page for you, and it's just showing what the sort of latest articles are. And all these have appeared since last night. So it automatically received from the journal these new articles that were put on in advance of print as soon as they are available. And then, these are journals, this New Scientist, just all the articles from the New Scientist website, magazine, and so on. And so, for example, if we click on this feed, then it shows all the new items from Nature Nanotech. And if we want to see, for example, any more information, we can click on the title, and now it goes directly to the abstract. And then when you're on campus, you can get the PDF and so on. You can also, share this with other people who have subscribed to your Google Reader stuff. You can email it to others, for example. So I can email this to myself if I want, and then it'll contain a link back to this information on Google Reader. So it's just a nice way to collect everything. So if I go to all items, Now this is a list of all the new items that have come from all the feeds that I've subscribed to. Yes?
Do you have the references, like time-wise? How far back does your list go?
So it will let you scroll like back as far as it can get information from the website. But it will, on face, just show you the items that are new.
Okay.
But if you go to a specific feed, you can keep scrolling forever and ever and ever. It'll just keep getting information in real time.
Okay.
But now I read all the new items, and then it says no more new items.
Sorry, can we make a feed from a specific search?
Yes, you can.
A periodic search, and then
can.
make it as a feed.
You can. I know you can. I actually haven't done that yet, but ISI will show you how to do that. And you can say, feed me every week, every day, every month.
On a search?
On a search from ISI or from another database. Pretty much every website that publishes information frequently or blog has an RSS feed.
Yeah, but they're sending everything.
Yeah.
Not a specific search.
Yeah. Well, no, you can do a specific search. Maybe not. I don't know if you can do it, say, from Nature or Science. Maybe you can. I wouldn't be surprised. But definitely from the databases like ISI, you can do search feeds, just as you can do search emails, for example. And then if you want to add a subscription, you can paste a URL. Like if you go to a specific journal, it might tell you, enter URL X for the RSS feed. Or sometimes if you search within here, you can find a feed and you can subscribe to it. So a lot of people seem to subscribe to Wikipedia entries, and they watch all the updates that have been made about a certain thing. But sometimes you don't find the one that you want, but I believe since I've already subscribed to Nature Nanotech, the one that I would want is not in this list. Let's try to look for one PNAS. And here, for example, I haven't subscribed to PNAS yet, so if I subscribe to this one, I think it'll send me all the articles that are published in PNAS, which is about 80 articles per week, which is kind of bordering. Do I really want to receive 80 articles per week from a journal which covers a lot of interesting things, but things that I don't normally focus on, a lot of biology things? But anyway, this is one way you can import feeds. The other way you can import feeds is just go to a website and find information about the feed. So for kicks, I'll just subscribe to this, and then you've subscribed to PNAS, and there it appears here. And I don't know how far it goes back when it considers items new now, but for example, here are a bunch of new things. Maybe it goes the past week and so on. And if you say show all items, now you can see it just lets me go farther and farther back, and so on. All right. So that's all for the first part. Another question?
In my EndNote on online web, my EndNote, is it possible to give more than one tag, more than one category to a paper?
I don't know.
Sometimes you have a paper, but it's related to different tags.
I haven't done that yet. Have you worked with it?
I couldn't find it, but I mean.
I think it's possible. I mean, in the software you could do this, so ideally you could probably be able to do that on the web.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you have to copy it to the second group or something like that.
You could have like a library or something.
Yeah. I think I was wondering about that myself, and I sort of didn't find it right away, and then got distracted.
When you put the item to search for the topic, does it search for the abstract and the title, or does it search for the whole paper?
You mean, for example, in ISI?
Yeah, in ISI.
So you can choose the field tag you want to assign. So TS, topic, I believe means title and abstract, and maybe also keywords. TI just means title. So when I do a search, I typically do.
But I cannot search in the abstract alone.
I don't think so. You can use.
It seems not alone.
That's good enough.
No, I mean, there's really going to be enough for like this.
I think it's on the key machines, but you cannot like download it.
And then, like, you can, ISI can send you alerts, like you've written some papers when anyone cites your paper, because it tracks. Another thing, which you may know about already, is, you know, literature and citations are a big network. So also, if you want to look into a topic, you can do a big search, and you can find all the papers that meet certain search terms, or you can kind of follow the genealogy of literature. You can see what references a paper has cited, and then what papers have cited that paper. So now, by clicking here on Time Cited 11, you'll get a list of the 11 papers that have cited that particular paper. And some may meet your search terms, and some may not meet your search terms. But for example, if you wanted to go look and, you know, say there's a very seminal paper in a field that may, you know, be published in Science, you may find that paper, and then you may want to thumb through the 100 or more times that that paper has been cited since it's been published, and then you can get an idea of what that research has done broadly, like what people have thought when they've read that, whether or not it is in, you know, your initial cone of interest. Any other questions? All right. So we'll just take a couple-minute break, and then we'll move on to the regular lecture. I figure if we start a half hour earlier every Monday, then we can eventually be done well before sunrise. And have lots more time for research.